Welcome back to BoomerTECH Adventures course, 15 iPhone iPad Vision Accessibility Features. These 5 videos and other resources demonstrate how you can personalize your device to address your specific vision needs. Again, we suggest you watch these videos at your own pace with your device by your side. That way you can easily follow along. Also, consider stopping the video after each topic and practicing. Some of the features take a little bit more practice than others. Let's get started. This is video number 3. Make it larger. Almost anything on your iPad or your iPhone can be made larger to make it easier for the user to see the images and the text. Let's look at the topics we're going to cover. We're going to look at how to make your app's icons larger, how to control both text and images in Safari as far as their size goes. We're going to look at an app called the Magnifier, and we're also going to look at an accessibility feature entitled Zoom. Let's start with the app's icons. Now, the process is a little different on the iPad from the iPhone. We're going to start with the iPad. So what you want to do is you want to open Settings, and you're going to scroll to Home Screen and Multitasking. However, if you have an older device, it may say Home Screen and Dock, and that's what you see in the image on the right, highlighted in blue. When you tap on Home Screen and Dock or Home Screen and Multitasking, you then want to look for Use Large App Icons, and you're going to tap on that. Now this is what you see if you have a newer iPad. Notice it says on the left, Home Screen and Multitasking. However, up at the top, it still says Use Large App Icons. Well, what does it look like? Well, here's an image. On the left, you see it when the icons are in the default mode, and they're a little smaller than the ones on the right when we've turned on making app icons larger. Not a huge difference, but there is some. Now, if you have an iPhone, you're going to again open Settings, but this time you're going to scroll to Display and Brightness, and you want to tap on Display Zoom, and you see in the little image on the left, the arrow's pointing to Display Zoom. That's what you're going to tap on. And when you do, you will get the second screen, and you want to choose Larger Text. And this is what it looks like once you've tapped on Larger Text. You can see the difference in the two screens there. The larger text in this case is on the left, and you compare it to the default on the right. You can see that there's a little bit of difference. Same with the second screen there on the right. You see that there is a little bit of difference between the icons, and it would also be the text. If you look at 941 on the larger text, you see that is bigger than the 941 on the default. So that's how you can control the size of your app icons. Your choice may not make a difference for you, but for some other people it may make a big difference. Let's move on to controlling text size and images size in Safari. As I've said, almost in every slide, you're going to open Settings, but in this case, we'll have you scroll to Safari, and you see it in the two images. Safari is highlighted in blue, And what you're looking for once you tap on Safari is the words page zoom. And if you look at the bottom image, you'll see your options everywhere from 50% up to 300%. Quite a few choices. Well, what does that look like in reality? Well, on the iPad, you see here on the left, that's what the BoomerTECH Adventures webpage looks like at 100%. If, on the other hand, I set it at 200%, you see that it is indeed much larger. But of course, you see less of the screen, but you just move your screen around with your finger. Same on the iPhone, though, because the screen on the iPhone is smaller, you're going to see less of the web pages. So you see on the iPhone at 100%, BoomerTECH Adventures webpage, and then at 200%. But it is, certainly the text is much larger, the pictures would be much larger, and it would be easier to read once you have mastered moving your screen around. So that is a pretty nice feature with Safari. Next, did you know that you have a magnifying glass on both your iPhone and your iPad, a digital magnifier? How cool is that? So there are 4 ways you can access this magnifying glass. You're going to be looking for the icon. You see a picture of it there on the right, the black square with a magnifying glass and a yellow X in the middle. And the 4 ways, well, first of all, you will find it on your home screen. Second, you can open your control center, and I'll show you how to do that, and you'll find it there. You can find it also in the app library, and if you don't know where your app library is, I'll show you that. And finally, you can use the command Hey Siri. So let's look at them in a little bit more detail. If you've never used your control center, this is how you get there. You open your home screen and you put your finger up in the upper right-hand corner and you slide it on a diagonal from the top right-hand corner on a diagonal, just like that gold arrow. When you do, this screen will appear. And the control center, some people use it all the time. It is a fast way to access apps. And in this case, the gold arrow is pointing to the magnifier. You see the magnifying glass. So that's how you get to your control center. Now, you may open your control center and not find the magnifier. Well, the cool thing is you can customize your control center. So what you need to do is, again, you go back to settings, and this time you want to scroll to control center. And again, this is an iPad screen, same on your iPhone. You're going to tap on control center, and when you do, you will see this list of items. These are all apps. If they have a red circle, that means they are already in your control center. If you look down at the bottom, it says more controls, and there's green circles. And you can't see them all, but there are several more I could add. You simply tap on whatever app you would like to add to your control center. So if the magnifier is not in your control center, customize it, and I'm sure you will find it down there with the green buttons. Now, I also mentioned the app library. This is a feature of your iPhone and your iPad where you can go and find all the apps you have. So the way you get there is you keep swiping to the left until you come to the very last screen, and you will see your apps organized. And you should find your magnifier there. So you simply tap on it and it will open it. The fourth way I mentioned was use Hey Siri, but you have to make sure it's set up. So again, you go to Settings, you scroll down to Siri and Search, and you want to make sure those top three buttons are all turned on, that they're green. Once they are, you simply say, Hey Siri, open magnifier, and it will. This is what the magnifier looks like. Notice that there is a slider that you control the size of the screen. What has happened is your camera opens and you focus it on whatever you're trying to magnify, and then you can slide that slider until you get the print or the picture to what you want to see. Notice also that the flashlight or torch icon is also there, so you can turn on the flashlight while you're magnifying. That's whatever. Imagine how cool that would be in a dark restaurant when you can't really read the menu. You can turn on the torch, turn on the flashlight, and also magnify the options. So that is the magnifier. And I just want you to remember that you always have a flashlight with you if you have your iPhone or your iPad. We're going to move on to Zoom. And Zoom is an option you will find in the accessibility section. And this feature does take some practice. You need to read the directions that go with it. Need to read the small print. So, what do? Well, you open Settings, and this time you're going to scroll down to Accessibility, and you're going to look for the Zoom option. And if before you tap that button, I would read the directions, because if you don't, you might be very frustrated, because the important thing to remember is to control Zoom, you are using 3 fingers, not the 1 finger you use normally on your phone or your iPad. So read those directions. You see that you need to use 3 fingers to control, and that sometimes you drag them to move around the screen. Sometimes you double tap to change the zoom. There are other things that you need to practice before you decide to absolutely use it. Now, just a little hint. You can try this, and if you like it, that's super. If you just need the text to be a little larger, you might just remember that we talked about display and brightness in appearance, and you can go to Settings, Display and Brightness, and use the slider to make the text bigger. But this is something that is really individual. Somebody that really needs things to be enlarged is going to want to use Zoom, and somebody that just needs the text a little bit bigger may use the display and brightness options. So let's look what Zoom looks like. So on the left, you see my original screen, and then you see with Zoom on how much bigger it is. And it's not the whole screen that it's larger, it's a section of it. And using my 3 fingers, I would move that window around. Now there's some options under Zoom. The first one's called Zoom Controller. It gives you quick access to the Zoom controls, and you see them listed there. If I single tap, I show the menu, double tap, zoom in and out, triple tap, and I would have to click where it says none and make my choices. So if you want to use the controller, again, this is something you're going to want to practice with. You might get a little frustrated at first, but I've read comments online with people who they use it all the time, and it is really helpful. So again, it's really an individualized choice. Now there are other options. There's the zoom region, and that's where you choose which part of the screen is enlarged. It's something called pinned, which is just on the iPad, full screen, which is on the iPhone and iPad, and window zoom, which is on the iPhone and iPad. Here's an example of pinned, again, which is just on the iPad. You choose what part of the text you want enlarged, the top, the bottom, the left, or the right. And here I have chosen the top. So again, something to play around with, to experiment and practice and see if, when you're using your iPad, whether you like the pinned zoom or do you like the other options. Here's the full screen zoom. You can see the entire screen is made larger, images, text, etc. Window zoom's a little different. A frame is created to create a window. And if you look at this screen or this image on the right, you can see the window, the arrow is pointing to it, but right behind it, the full screen is peeking out. The thing that you might like about window zoom is you can adjust the size of that window. Let me show you. What you do is you tap with the 3 fingers on the window and this menu will appear. You want to tap on Resize Lens. And you see the yellow arrow is pointing to it. When you do that, you'll see there are circles at each corner of the window. And you simply tap on those and you adjust the size of the window and you move it to where you want. So for example, if you just wanted to see what messing around with my iPhone cameras app was all about, you would put the window over that section, and that's the only section that would be enlarged. You'd use those circles on the corner and you would kind of pinch them in so that that window is just focused on messing around with my iPhone camera. So that's zoom. And again, I want to reiterate, zoom is one of the features you're going to have to practice with in order to master it. Once you do, you will probably find it very helpful. So as we come to the end of this video, just like to remind you of a couple of things, that almost anything on an iPhone or iPad screen can be made larger. You're in control. Going to settings and looking at the different options, you make the decisions. And again, what works for you may not work for somebody else. So you have to decide. Remember, you have a digital magnifying glass with you whenever you have your iPhone or your iPad with you. Please take time to experiment before you make a decision whether or not you like a feature or not. And as I said, some of the features, especially zoom, will take some practice to master. As we come to the end, again, this has been Jill from BoomerTECH Adventures. You might enjoy some of our other courses, which you can find listed on our webpage, BoomerTECHadventures.com. We have a number, over 150 free videos at YouTube. We have lots of information on Facebook. And of course, if you have any questions about the information in this video or anything else, you can always reach us at ed@BoomerTECHadventures.com. Just send us an email. Thanks for watching.